AM WBEE HD2 Rochester and everywhere you go at WGR Rochester. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester, an Odyssey sports station. Welcome into the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, where the voice of the Rochester fan is heard. Pull up a stool and join us at 866-4326. This is WGR Rochester, and the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia is on now.
2 hours of sports talk excellence here in the Flower City. We got a lot to talk about. Great show coming up. And thank you for joining us here today from the High Falls Studios in downtown Rochester. My name is Gene Battaglia. Tim Schneider, a fine producer. Dan Drummy doing his great work. And you are part of the show. Join us at 585-866-4326. You can write to us, our handle at WGR Rochester. You don't have to do it from 1 to 3. I mean, we're on, looking at everything all the time, right? So if you're listening to this in a podcast form, you want to call us 1 to 3 Eastern time here in the Flower City on weekdays, Monday through Friday. But for everybody else, you can always listen in the Odyssey app on demand, either in segments or for the whole 2 hours. We're on 95.7 FM, AM 950, streaming for free on YouTube and Twitch as well. As we've got a fun show here today. Before we get to the lineup here, just a quick anecdote from yesterday's show as some great Bill stuff from Matt Perino, who joins us every Tuesday, talking about rookie minicamp. Hey, Jermaine Burton didn't really flash, but it's kind of tough to tell with quarterbacks who won't be playing in the league. So talking about the schedule, too, and we'll kind of review some of that today as well. But during the interview, now, just a peek behind the curtain. Our studio's right here. If you're ever down at ESL Ballpark, the Red Wing Stadium, there's the parking garage. We're on the other side of the parking garage, Commercial and Mill Street. And if you look at the windows, they don't have us, labeled here, but all the other stations are labeled. And you see the WBEE logo. That's one of the stations here in the building. And our studio is right next to WBEE. And one of the hardest working guys in this business, and a really good guy, salt of the earth guy, is Billy Kidd. And Billy Kidd, even though he's on the air, 6 to 10, he's in mornings like at 5 a.m., he's working late. He's getting things done. And so he's in his studio doing his work yesterday, and he's looking over, motioning to me while I'm on the air. And he's got the box of donuts, and he's opening it up, and wants to. Would you like a yummy donut? I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going to be good here, but I point over at one Tim Schneider, and of course, motioning. Yup, I'll take that. That'll be good. I'm just disappointed. I thought he was going to leave you the whole box because that would have been your dinner.
It would have been
your dinner.
That became my lunch for sure. I thought that when he did that, I thought he was just going to leave it in there for me to grab after the show. I didn't know that it was going to be delivered to me, and which was awesome.
Yeah,
I just wasn't expecting it.
And because we were talking to Matt at the time, and usually when we're doing an interview with one of our experts, you're not on mic at that point, so you could just keep your mic off, eat. Anybody that's kind of watching is like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. Now, I'm happy to report that they had a meeting across with one of our other stations, and I don't know who was involved there, but hey, we want to impress. They brought in the food, so there's leftover subs in there.
Oh, you didn't hear when I walked in?
Yeah,
you did hear. I was offered by three. There were 3 people in there when I got there. And 2 of them offered me lunch, but I said after, and then I was told it might not be there after, and that's the risk I'm going to take because I can't come on here and eat while we're doing this, right? I can. I've seen it happen in other stations.
All right, so I'm gonna give you a timeline to eat, okay? Because I'm always concerned about your health.
Me too.
I have a few years on you, Tim, and if we're just going health to health, I'm going to say I'm healthier than you, buddy.
I would probably agree with that.
Yeah, there's something wrong there. So we got to get you. It's not that we can't turn the ship around, dude.
We're working on it.
It's like, no, I haven't eaten enough, in a day. My goodness, free donut. Perfect. I haven't eaten since last night. Oh, wow. Somebody brought in leftovers for lunch.
There's a lot of food in there that I'm 1,000% not hyperbole. I'm going to take that probably for lunch and dinner if it's still sitting there.
Okay,
I mean, why not?
So when we have Ian Mills, bottom of the hour, News 10 NBC, he'll be joining us. We'll talk some Sabres and Bills. I'll give you permission there to turn off your mic
and just chow down.
And chow down.
All right.
PJ Glasser. First time in a couple weeks we talked to PJ because, well, not only do we have NBA playoffs to talk about, not only do we have the baseball schedule to talk about, we got one PGA championship. Boy, if you think, wow, 3 years, it shouldn't feel like so much time, but doesn't it? Like 3 years ago, we're broadcasting live from Oak Hill, and I'm looking back at some of the photos, and we're following Rory around, and it was just it was spectacular for our town. And, that is like way off in the horizon, the year 2035. But PJ Glasser will be joining us here in hour number 2. The show is better with your participation, your feedback at 866-4326. That is the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub, 135 West Commercial Street, East Rochester, goodsmokebbq.com. Maybe if I asked them nicely, too, if they've got any leftovers tonight. You can go down there right at the end. Just
funny that you say that because I took my mom there for Mother's Day. No. I took my mom there for Mother's Day, and yesterday I finished those leftovers. So
all right. So this is how I'm not going to appeal to the public. People are going to be showing up in the studio.
We're going to have so much food.
I made this casserole for Tim. I liked his take the other day. He made me laugh.
Sports Bar Food Bank.
We will have the terrible take from Timmy coming up on the show today as well. So, boy, what should we talk about? NFL schedule? I'm going to table that. And you called it yesterday, Tim. Today was the day they released the international games. So here are the games that you will be seeing at 9 in the morning. With the exception of the Mexico City game, that is going to be Sunday Night Football. I'm like, oh, okay, that was always kind of like a Monday night affair. But everything that is over in Europe it was announced today. Steelers and Saints, that's probably the most interesting one. That is going to be in Paris. We've got Patriots and Lions. We got all sorts of games. The Eagles and Jags at Tottenham Hotspur. So, yes, the NFL, year by year, will be continuing to expand this. And if they put it in a TV window that is not that abrasive, meaning who's going to object to waking up with coffee on a Sunday morning and putting on a game, two teams you don't care, but maybe you have something fantasy-wise relevant, it does fit our cycle. So I'm not opposed to expanding the product for the NFL. That is something we could talk about if you want. Maybe we have another leak for the Buffalo Bills. I am of the the prediction that we'll know at least half of the Buffalo Bills schedule by we wrap up tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Because the leaks will happen, and these are just the design releases here. And because here in Western New York, they call it mind share, right? The mind share for the Bills right now, we'll get there. Absolutely. When the team shows up at Fisher and Josh Allen's throwing passes, and we're going to get excited about the rookie receiver from UConn, that'll all come, all in due time. But right now, we've had something that really you haven't had legitimately since 19 years. In fact, maybe ever. And I'm going to credit Nick Veronica. I have to credit him. He came up with this unbelievable stat. Writes for the Buffalo News, researches a lot of things. I'm like, that can't be right. It's absolutely true. That for the Buffalo Sabres, in a best-of-7 format, they had never won a series when trailing 2-1. Wow. That can't be right. It is right. 17 times it's happened. Sabres have trailed in a series 2-1. And they've yet to come back in a series. So the pendulum swinging in the favor of the Buffalo Sabres. And when we talk to like Mike Leone or any hockey guy, Matt Thomas over at RIT, it's kind of the new norm, right? Did you win or lose? No. Were you the better team? As you're teaching kids here, whether that's in college or development or whatever, you're trying to focus on, are you doing the right things? Because hockey is such a random sport sometimes. Yeah. Is that any more evident last night? You could say the officials were terrible, and that they were. Okay, and we'll talk about that. You can say, hey, Montreal was diving, and they didn't deserve all that. Absolutely. Some of those videos don't look all that great. But who was the better team for the most part last night? And who got the break last night? Yes, the overturn call, I don't know how you do that. And I'll get to that in a second. But the Thompson goal, that normally doesn't happen for a Buffalo team. I'm just kind of like there, and all of a sudden, usually you see a play developing in hockey, and you kind of inch up on your seat, the edge of your seat, legitimately. I wasn't at the edge of my seat. I'm just like, okay, it's a dump it. What? How does that carry him in? And that flipped the game. And what do you know? The Sabres get a power play goal, putting the kid in front on his 21st birthday. Now, you could say, Gene, this game should have been 2-0. Absolutely. Absolutely. And initially, I thought, all right, they're saying that Quinn let me back up. The play happens like this. Originally, it's not a goal. The Situation Room in Toronto says, let's review this. Something has to be done with the reviews because that was...
Good God, yes.
Oh, it was terrible. It's terrible. Stop. You should be able to figure this out in a definitive time. Unless you're trying to get Commissioner Bettman on the phone or somebody you're trying to reach. Are you having an argument in the room? Who is the decider? Who makes the call ultimately? Oh, Toronto. Okay, well, tell me in Toronto that is. Is there a committee? Because it seems like you were arguing about that. Finally, they come out. Okay, that was a goal. Yay! Go Sabres, 2-0. And then the challenge comes. Now, the challenge, that's a little different. You're allowed to challenge, but if you're wrong, penalty. So Montreal, Martin St. Louis taking that risk. We really feel there was goaltender interference. And then you watch that, like, that's not goaltender interference. And then they play it back, and they play it back. And now we have another long delay. What are you arguing about this? And the longer it goes, the more you're thinking, oh, my gosh, they're going to overturn this. And are they saying that Quinn, with his stick, pushed the glove back of Dubash, and eventually that's how there it was. Except that's not what happened. They overturned the call, but the NHL later on put out a statement saying it was Helenius who made the contact on the right side, which, okay, he's in the blue paint. There's a little bit of contact, but there's enough time that goes by. Time to the fact that if anybody interferes with the goaltender, it's his own defender, Gooley, in front. What are we doing? What are we doing? So my phone's blowing up. My son is yelling with his friend on speaker to the point where I'm like, stop. Take this outside, okay? And I myself say I need to go for a walk because how does this league exist? And credit a good friend of the show, Terry Schaefer. You may know him. Go play goalie and at RMU. Should have played at RIT, in my opinion. Sorry, Terry. He's like, this is bad television. And that it was. You can't be sitting around. How long was that for a review and then another review? Bottom line is this. If you're a Montreal fan, how are you feeling today? You're pissed. You're thinking, how did we lose that game? We should be up 3-1 in this series. Montreal had 7 power play opportunities. If I presented you with these stats, 1, Montreal, we all kind of agree, all right? They have the best power play in the league, right? You're going to give them 7 cracks at that? Stat 2, Sabres would trail in this game. I would say, ruh-roh. Okay, well, maybe we can get game 5 here, and all right, good season. We'll build on it from last year. Except these kids didn't know any better. They fought back. And, hey, Montreal was pouring everything on. They're blocking shots. They're doing everything. So let's review the moves that Lindy Ruff made, okay? I'll start with the kind of nothing burger, and that was Shen. It was nothing. Like, he's out there. I'm like, who's number 5? Oh, okay. So, to me, I don't know. Maybe you try Mets at home. I think you're trying other things. It didn't hurt him. It didn't matter. It was a 0. But the other two, I think, are fascinating. Hey, I love when national announcers mention Rochester, Timmy. Like a couple times McDonough. Oh, people are pissed at McDonough here, too. Sean McDonough, who last night did not have a good night. But McDonough mentioning Rochester twice for Consta Helenus, who, hey, go back to January. We didn't know how to pronounce his name.
We still don't.
It's Hall of Fame night, and forgive me to the Emmerich season ticket, because we were doing our show live out there, and she pulls me aside, and she's like, what is it? Is it I don't want to say his name wrong anymore, because I would think that was disrespectful. And it was the night before when he was up playing against Montreal. Was it Montreal? No, it was the Kings. But the point is, like, I heard Dan Dunleavy say Helenus. I'm like, huh? Have we been saying that wrong all along? Yeah. Well, apparently, now it turned 20. He turned 20 on on Monday. The moment wasn't too big for the former first-round pick of the Sabres. He was fantastic. One hit post, one unbelievable save, and you put him up on that second line, and all of a sudden, Montreal's got to worry about playing defense on that second line, dropping McLeod down. That is why Lindy Ruff, he's really good at his job, is he not? Because that's a gutsy move, and I lean a little more conservatively when it comes to those sort of moves, and the moment was not too big for him. So you know what? He stays in the lineup. I'm sorry to Sam Carrick, and Sam Carrick get better or whatever it is. McLeod on the fourth line. All right, well, the fourth line provides you with some things, or maybe McLeod's ends up being the odd man out, and you put Kozak back in. But Helenus should not come out. Helenus provided you something, and if you want another tell, you're up by 1 goal in the most hostile environment in the NHL. 3 minutes to go, and the kid is out there playing defense. Wow, that is trust. So, to me, moving forward, let's review. Defense, Shen. Again, nothing burger. I go back to Stanley, put in Metza. To me, like, whatever you want to do, go ahead, right? Helenus, keep him in. The next one, I think, is a real, true debate. Because, yes, UPL was good last night. There were some moments in the third where he made the save, and I don't think he was sure he made the save. Yeah. One particular, he's turning around like ruh-roh. Then there was another one that Samuelson, okay, the puck is right there. I'm going to sweep this aside safely. And so the goals he gave up, not his fault, certainly. But it wasn't a wow performance. And if there's something that is unique about the Sabres, and usually you don't have this for a Stanley Cup contender, there I said it, it's that you don't have rotating goalies. So for the Sabres tomorrow night, if you decide to go with Alex Lyon, should that upset anybody? Because I don't think Alex Lyon deserved to come out. It was just that Lindy Ruff, I think the primary thing he was looking for was, we need a spark, and UPL deserves another shot here. But do you rotate? And it is the fun sports debate where I could listen to it both ways. And I know I'm supposed to plant my flag and say, yes, go back to Alex Lyon. But I'd also say, you know what? It would give you put UPL in Buffalo and you ride UPL out here. And then if it doesn't work, then, all right, then you're going back to Alex Lyon in Game 6. Tim, what do we have? For the first time in the sports bar history, we have a Buffalo team playing a pivotal Game 5.
Pivotal Game 5.
Game 5.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, 2-2. Can't say a series is 2-2 without saying the word pivotal in front of it. All right, your opinion. Yeah, just in a word. Which goalie do you go with?
I think I go with UPL again. Play till you lose. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like I think that they are both equal. It's a 1A, 1B. It's not a clear-cut situation. but the way that they did it in the first series kind of played out the way that it should have.
I'm thinking maybe you stick with UPL, and then worst case scenario. And I know they shouldn't think like this, but say it doesn't work. All right, then we're going to go back to Lion, and then because you're not kidding. Like pivotal Game 5. Hey, if the Sabres win Game 5, they are not a guarantee to wrap it up Game 6. That is going to be a tough environment. Montreal doesn't want the season to go down there. But conversely, if Montreal comes in and wins, it was the second Montreal goal bad. Forwards clearing the zone, things that shouldn't happen. Hey, make sure your defense has the puck before you're turning up the ice. And from McLeod and his line mates, not good. Right? That cost them. So can you get back home and just be buttoned up? When we talked to Owen Power, excuse me, I never.
We knew it was going to happen.
Oh yeah, ding.
I'm on the wrong side.
Okay, no problem. His name is not Owen Power. He plays for defense for the Sabres. Owen Parker is the guy you hear with Jeremy White in the morning. Puck management. Talking about puck management. That's what it is. It's not only just like where do you pass the puck, but what are you doing on the ice? And everybody wants to, this, which you love. Go, go, go. Get up the ice. Up, up, up. Sabres have speed. Show it. But in an instance like that, against a team like Montreal, no, we're not taking any risk like that. Let's talk to Ian Mills, News 10 NBC. We'll talk to our betting expert, PJ Glasser, coming up in the 2 o'clock hour. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is WGR Rochester.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
It's on to Game 5 for the Buffalo Sabres. Series tied at 2 games each now. This after the Game 4 win in Montreal. Sabres forward Josh Doan on what is ahead.
Yeah, I think you'll start to see things tighten up a little bit. Obviously, it's going to be a tight couple games here. We've seen a lot of offense through the first 4 games, but I'm sure both teams are going to want to kind of slow that down and play a little bit more simple for the next 3.
Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call tomorrow night beginning at 7. Ian Mills, News 10 NBC. Talk some Sabres and Bills coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings won the opener 3-0 against Lehigh Valley last night. Same 2 teams tonight at the ballpark. On this getaway Wednesday, Yankees and Orioles are scoreless in the second in Baltimore. Cleveland up on the Angels 1-0, bottom of the first. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader, WGR Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Oh, this is such a fun time of year, right? And it's just like we have Bills news to talk about too. Is Ian Mills, News 10 NBC, joining us, and Ian, you being the NBC affiliate here, I really thought there was a real shot that Sunday Night Football could have been the debut for the Buffalo Bills, but we get them on a Thursday here. Ian, how are you today? Appreciate your time, and how are you today?
Not too bad, Gene. How you doing? Obviously, coming off a big Sabres win last night. But, yeah, Bills opening on a Thursday Night Football. Not opening, rather, the home opener being on a Thursday Night Football. It does feel a little bit odd, a little anticlimactic, if you will, just because it's, when you get those prime games, it does feel a little bit not cheap. It's not cheap, but it does feel a little bit off, if you feel me.
Yeah, and maybe this is the world we haven't caught up to, and I was a little surprised that the NBA is dishing off a couple games to prime as well. Like, wait a second, they're going to put San Antonio, Minnesota, and Detroit, like a few of these playoff games, but here we are. But do you have a preference who you want to see the Bills open against? Because if you're doing the process of elimination, we'll find out for sure tomorrow night. You've got, the Bills could open in Miami, they could open in Vegas, or you could have games at Minnesota, at Green Bay, or Houston. Any idea where the Bills might open up? What would you like to see, Ian?
I wouldn't hate to see them opening up against Miami, as you mentioned. I kind of was hoping because the home opener is on a Thursday that they'd have like a lighter travel, if you will. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. I guess we can still wait and see and find out. But I wouldn't hate Miami. I'm not going to say a cupcake just because it's, anytime it's an AFC East game, you never know. And obviously they lost to the Dolphins last year with Tua at the helm. He's no longer there. You're going to have Malik Willis and Jeff Hafley as their head coach. Play Miami down there. That regime's first game. I wouldn't mind that. Just get a win on the road. Get the Miami game out of the way. I mean, admittedly, it's going to be about as hot as possible down there, but get that out of the way, and then you return home for your home opener.
Yeah, I would love that to be late afternoon, just the sun's a little out of the eyes, 4 o'clock, and then, coming back against the Lions week 2 on Thursday night. Ian, we haven't spoke since the draft, and when we're kind of looking ahead, I mean, this 90-man roster, Brandon Beane, we know is not done with it, and when you look at, hey, there's still a bunch of names out there. What are the 1 or 2 positions you think the Bills actually need some depth here? Where do you think the focus should be here, as right now we're in this latter phase here of free agency?
I still think it's at the pass rusher position. They lose Epinesa. They lose Joey Bosa. Obviously, neither of those guys were super productive last year, so I'm not upset that they didn't bring those guys back. But you look at the pass rusher unit they have. Greg Rousseau, I think everybody at this point understands what he is. They obviously give him the extension last offseason. Everyone should be, I think, reasonably happy with that. They add Mike Dana out of Kansas City over the earlier this week, and maybe that's the addition of the depth that they needed. But coming into this offseason, like, to me, I understand people want wide receivers. I totally get it. But to me, it was like pass rusher was like, I was screaming at the TV, like, this is the need. This is the need. They had Bradley Chubb. I'm not as high on Bradley Chubb as maybe some others. He's obviously a little bit aging. He's obviously had some injuries in the past. I was hoping they had a little bit more of a splash. Now, if you're Brandon Means, you might look at his own history and said, okay, we added Von Miller, we added Joey Bosa. Maybe those were the splashes in the past and they didn't work out. So maybe he's a little bit more trigger shy, so to speak, with these bigger contracts. Bradley Chubb got a decent contract, though. So I was still hoping they went a little bit more at pass rusher at this point. Secondly, I guess when you look at D tackle, I'm just going to kind of stay on the D line. Ed Oliver, we know what he is. He's obviously incredible when he plays, or at least he was incredible at times when he played last year. Deion Walker had a really good rookie season. If you look at the rest of the unit at D tackle, Dwayne Carter was hurt for much of last year, right? He didn't play. I don't think he played great after week 1, right? For Darian Mathis, who I did a story on, actually a great story. Basically thought his career was over, and then the Bills came calling, and he was playing real snaps for them last year. But Jordan Phillips is gone, and Daquan Jones is gone. Those are two guys that I'm not going to say that I don't really think that they replaced. Again, two guys I don't think were super productive last year, but two guys that I don't really think that the Bills went out and absolutely replaced. So D tackle or pass rusher, just that entire D line, it feels like they've retooled to an extent, but I don't feel super confident in either of those units as we head into kind of the off-season workouts or in the off-season workouts.
Of course, it's a whole new coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball, right? And you brought up Joey Bosa's name, and I don't think he'll be back. And certainly you had Epineza signing the deal with Cleveland, and they backed out of it, and he's still out there. It's interesting how many guys have yet to find a new home, or they're just still sitting out there. And whether it's Shaq Thompson, Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, I'll throw in Daquan Jones too. I mean, there's a lot of pieces there. Do you see any of those guys coming back in? Or would you want any of those guys back competing for a job here in 2026?
I could see. I mean, Trey White would be a fun story. Again, obviously, them going kind of heavy with corner in the draft makes me think that's not going to happen. Exactly. Shaq Thompson would be an interesting story just because of how good he was last season. Now, you might say, hey, we got Terrell Bernard. We've given him this massive contract. We want to see what he has. And maybe they like Joe Andreessen behind him. Maybe they like the options behind him, and that's why they're not bringing back Shaq Thompson. But, Gene, it's something you bring up that's interesting. Yes, how many defensive starters last season? Jordan Poyer, Daquan Jones, Jordan Phillips, Shaq Thompson, Joey Bosa, Epinesa, Trey White, guys who don't have contracts, who were starting for the Bills last season or playing real snaps, rotational pieces for the Bills last season, who don't have a job. To me, that screams like, I know this is debate's kind of over, we're kind of tabling it, but like, how good of a job did Sean McDermott do with that defense last year? You know what I mean? It is interesting to me to kind of look at what's happened, like these guys that were, maybe a foot in retirement who were almost done with their careers, but come back to the Bills last season. And the Bills defense wasn't good last year, but certainly they were an NFL defense and got into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could look at it from two ways. One being, oh my gosh, look at the job McDermott did. Or did McDermott have too much of a say in the personnel? Meaning, okay, it was always kind of a running joke, like the door is always open. A.J. Klein, for instance, how many times did he come back? Oh my gosh, they're bringing back Balin Spector. It seemed like that McDermott had his guys, had a type. Want to ask you about the corner position because of the draft. Do we think there's going to be a competition, a real competition? Could IGB actually beat out Maxwell Harrison? What do you think the Bills, this new regime, actually thinks of Maxwell Harrison? Because, okay, yeah, he ran and made a nice play against the Chiefs, but really wasn't on the field all that much. And I can't definitively say he's absolutely the answer opposite Christian Benford.
Yeah, when they picked IGB in the second round, late second round, to me that screamed this is a guy that Jim Leonard really wanted, a guy that Jim Leonard, metaphorically was banging on the table for. Brandon Beane talked about how much like the value of trading up and getting him. Like, hey, we thought if we were sitting back, he wouldn't be there, so that's why they wait. Look, the thing about corner is, there is a little bit of baptism by fire, if you will, and I think we saw it with Maxwell Harrison at points last season. If I remember correctly, like Key Higgins just kind of going over the top of him in that Bengals game. To me, it screams like Christian Benford's definitively your number one. IGB is going to have a real shot at that corner position, but as we saw last year, Gene, last year when the Bills added Tre'Davious White, I think most people assumed he wouldn't be playing as much as he did. And then Maxwell Harrison goes down, Dorian Strong goes down. So to me, they understand based off of last season how important that depth is. And it wasn't that long ago that Kyer Elam got beat out by Christian Benford. So, yeah, is it possible that IGB beats out Maxwell Harrison? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to be real competition? I do. I think both guys, though, are going to get real snaps throughout the season. Like last year in the Jets game, the second game of the season, Trey White and Maxwell Harrison, Dorian Strong and Tre'Davious White, I should say, were rotating series just to kind of give each other reps, see what we like better and see what we like more. And I would not be shocked if we see that in the early going of the season if there isn't a definitive answer out of training camp.
Ian Mills from News 10 NBC, our guest here talking Bills, and let's talk some Sabres here. Boy, oh boy. The thing that I found most impressive last night is that the team actually found the way. It could have been easier just to say, oh my gosh, these calls are going against us. It's a hostile environment. But yet there they were at the end of it. What your thoughts on how Buffalo, clearly at points, I didn't think they were the better team last night, but they found a way to get it done. Now the series is tied.
Yeah, I think coming into the series, most people felt like this should be a really close. Like I think Game 7, going to 7 was sort of the consensus amongst people, and we've seen that at times in this series, but what we've also seen is the Sabres with these self-inflicted penalties, and we saw it in Game 3 where it just gets away from them. The penalty kill has been phenomenal for much of the season, and it wasn't at points the series just because of the sheer opportunities, the amount of opportunities that the Habs have had. And yeah, last night it looked like, the Sabres were just addicted to taking penalties, like just addicted to getting in their own way. Again, Lindy Ruff has talked about the discipline aspect of it all, and you see that early on. And then UPL just stands on his head late. Like the back half of this game, midway through the second period onward, he just was phenomenal after a dreadful first period. And then Zach Benson scoring, the game winner. A great story on his 21st birthday. I think this is like the Sabres to them. Lindy Ruff he said it for much of this postseason. We understand what it's like to be down. We understand what it's like to be doubted. You can only say that so many times, but last night you see it works. These early dumb penalties, you just kind of have to get rid of. And as we go into Game 5, we'll have to see if they can fix that, so to speak.
Well, let's start with the guy we knew here in Rochester. And I say in the past tense because, honestly, he's playing like that. I'm not so sure he starts with the Amerks next year. Ballsy move by Lindy Ruff to put in Constellanius, and now we know how to say his name correctly, Ian. He's not coming out of the lineup, correct?
He shouldn't. I mean, he certainly shouldn't. I got a funny story for you for Constellanius. Back half of the Amerks season, if you recall, they were heading into the final weekend of the regular season, 3 games in 3 days. Yep. They needed 1 point to get in. Right before that weekend, on Wednesday, Utica, I think, played Cleveland. And if Utica had lost, the Amerks would clinch their spot, something along those lines. I went to go down to talk to the guys after practice, and I'm talking to Constable Helenius, and I said, hey, you're going to watch the game tonight? Like Cleveland, Utica, you guys could clinch your spot as soon as tonight? And you laughed. And you're like, why would I watch that? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, you can clinch a spot? He's like, it doesn't matter. Like, we're going to get in no matter what. Like, we're going to go in. We're going to win these games. It doesn't matter. Like, it was the confidence level of this kid. And then you talk to Mike Leone, the Amerks head coach, and he just is like, yeah, he's like, Consta and a couple of the other guys on the Amerks roster, like, don't understand how big the moment they're in is as a compliment. Like, these guys are not scared of anything, and you saw that from Consta Helenius last night. Like, if you'll watch his post-game pressers, if you watch, the morning skate interviews, he's just always kind of laughing, always kind of smiling. Like, he just seems like he's just happy to be here, and he's just, like, confused why everyone else thinks this is such a big deal. So, yeah, a game like he had last night, I don't know how you pull him out at this point at his age. I mean, he was phenomenal, and yeah, it's definitely the boost Buffalo needed early on.
I'd love to see that video. Gonna watch Utica Cleveland? No. You're gonna pay me to watch it? No. We're talking to Ian Mills, News at 10 NBC. All right, so who do you start in goal? I think this is truly one of those, I could debate it one way and you could debate it the other way, and we might just shake hands and saying, all right, I made my point, you made your point. I just have no idea what Lindy Ruff is thinking right now here for Game 5.
Gene, all year they were rotating the goalies, and it worked. And then we get into the postseason, and they're just like, all right, we're done. We're not going to do that anymore. Admittedly, I understand that postseason hockey is different than regular season hockey. I 100% understand that. Alex Lyon looked gassed, in my opinion. And then the UPL, because Alex Lyon was starting all these games in a row, UPL it looked like in the first period last night, didn't really have his legs under him because he hadn't played hockey. He hadn't played in a game since Game 2 of the Bruins series. I think you have to go back, maybe not have to, but I think they should go back to the rotation. I think you go to Lyon. He's had a couple days off. He's a little bit fresher. And then you're going to have UPL for Game 6, no matter what, who will have played a game earlier that week in Game 4 and will still have kind of the freshness of it. I get riding the hot hand. They did it with Alex Lyon pretty much as far as they could till it was pretty self-evident. I loved the idea of starting UPL last night. It looked bad early on, but it obviously worked out for them. It worked out for him. He was great. I just say go back to the rotation. We've said all along it's 1A, 1B, 1A, 1B. Lindy's even basically acknowledged that, considering the fact that they have rotated. So I don't know why we're kind of all of a sudden like, okay, no, this guy's going to start 4 games in a row, and then the moment he's bad, we're going to give the other guy 4 straight games. Just go back to the rotation. I understand it's a little bit unorthodox at this point in the season, but it's worked for them. It looks like Lyon needed the rest. It looks like UPL struggled early on because he hadn't played. So I would argue just go back to the rotation, Alex Lyon in Game 5.
Ian Mills, News 10 NBC, doing great work over there. Ian, tell everybody what you got coming up this week. We can check out, I'm assuming, some Sabres coverage, amongst other things.
Yeah, I'll be in Buffalo tomorrow for Game 5. Has been an incredible atmosphere. If anyone listening has not been to a game, I highly encourage people to just go. Not even necessarily for the game. I know ticket prices are ridiculous, but the pregame stuff is incredible. I've talked to the rollerblade gang guys. I've talked to the hockey dummy guys. They're incredible. So it's just so much fun. It's almost like euphoric getting there, especially like for me. I'm 24. I have very little memories of Buffalo playoff hockey up until this year. So it's kind of incredible to see, and you're meeting a lot of people who have had these first experiences. So yeah, I'll be in Buffalo for Game 5 on Thursday, which will be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's something that you didn't know anything any different there, Ian. All right, last one. I got to sneak this in.
Sure.
Who's your baseball team?
I'm a Toronto Blue Jays fan.
What? No,
Yes.
I didn't think they existed here. Really?
No, absolutely. Yes. Okay, Gene, I got to say this. I think Rochester, Buffalo, all of Western New York should be Blue Jays fans. I don't understand why we're Yankees fans. It makes no sense to me. I don't understand why we're a Yankees town. If you poll anyone, if you walk out of your studio right now and poll 30 people standing on the street, what is your opinion of New York City? How many people are going to say negative things about New York City? How many people are going to say negative things about the Giants and the Jets and like even the Mets. But all of a sudden, we're Yankees fans for some reason. Toronto is far closer to us. Toronto is an amazing city. They played in Buffalo for a year and a half. It's the AAA affiliate. For me, it's always made sense, and I understand the history aspect of it all. But yeah, go Jays.
Okay, look, you're providing the geographical, and look, you can just go up there, and I probably should do that, but we all lead busy lives. That's the thing there, and that it's all right. Well, look, go Jay. Nobody hates the Jays though. I think nobody is like, you talk to a Yankee fan, they're like, oh yeah, I like going up there. They're really nice. It's like there's no hatred for the Jays. Now the Leafs, on the other hand, if you told me you were a Leafs fan, I'd be like, okay, I'd hang up on you right now.
Yeah, that's look. It is. It's funny. I was up in Rogers Center a couple weeks ago. Right after the regular season had ended for the NHL, we were there for a Jays game, me and my buddy, and it is crazy the difference between Leafs fans and Jays fans. It's just you're right. Jays fans are just kind of happy to exist to an extent, and they're the epitome of like Canadian kindness, so to speak. And then Leafs fans, a little different. There's no doubt.
Ian, I learned something about you today, bud. Let's do this again soon. Thanks for your time today, bud.
Thanks, Gene.
Thanks. Ian Mills, News 10 NBC, our guest. You can write to us at WGR Rochester, as Greg did. Tim, biggest backhand compliment when Gene said, I'm significantly older than you, but I'm healthier.
I'm not offended by it. Yeah,
no,
I mean,
it's not. Look, there's time to turn this around, and you didn't take the opportunity to nourish yourself. I thought you would go raid the subs across while I was talking to you.
I still wasn't sure how to feel about leaving the studio. What if something happens? If I walk out, even in like the 30 seconds, and I've got to fix something?
I appreciate that dedication, and there are some rules that you should never eat or drink.
Yeah.
We all heard about that person. My first radio, I was this old. If anybody remembers Janet Merriam. Janet Merriam was the afternoon drive host at CMF. This is before Rich the Bull Gensler, but still in the area of Dave Kane in the afternoon and the late Uncle Raj at night, Mark Cronin. So I'm an intern there. And Janet Merriam spills soda all over the board.
Can't have that.
Cannot have that. Now, maybe somebody would say it was coffee. Whatever it was, you shouldn't be drinking in the studio and just frying equipment. So, anyways, that's one of the first things you learn. But Tim, that is called dedication. For that, amongst other reasons, we will clear the dance floor for Tim Schneider's terrible take of the day. We'll be talking next hour to our favorite betting expert, PJ Glasser, and your calls as well at 866-4326. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
Live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
The Leafs today firing Craig Berube, which that's not a surprise. They brought in the GM that, nobody likes up there. And generally speaking, the GM's going to want to hire his own head coach. Can I make a suggestion? Seth Appert should get an interview. There, I said it. I know Sabre fans like to blame Seth Appert for the power play, and they get all frustrated and how dare. But I think that is something that isn't talked enough about. Where Lindy Ruff is doing this phenomenal job with the team and getting everybody to believe, Seth Appert is a communicator. And if you want somebody to work with young people in this generation, if you will. And if you notice last night, he's talking to Helenius. It's in the third period. Never coached him directly. Remember, Seth was already up by the time that Helenius came to Rochester. But sure, between the time he was up, Consta back in Buffalo earlier this season and, the development camp and everything else. But it maybe, in that being said, maybe Toronto with those veterans, maybe that's not the fit for Seth Appert. But Seth Appert should get interviews, I would expect here, because if you're looking for reasons how things turned it around, all right, then somebody should be giving the Sabres assistant coach, former Amex head coach, an interview.
It's now time for Terrible Time Timmy's Terrible Take of the Day on WGR Rochester. WGR Rochester. It's Terrible Time Timmy.
Music to your ears is not music to mine. However, another incredible unintentional segue, as you just said something that I need to put to bed for everybody. It's from the name, the voice of this name himself, Consta Helenius, saying how to say his name.
Can I ask you a really important question? Pronounce your last name for us, please. We've heard so many variations of this over the course of the day.
Helenius.
Thank you.
Helenius.
Can I ask you a really important question?
Helenius.
Helenius.
Let's play it again. Helenius. Helenius.
You a really important question. Pronounce your last name for us, please. We've heard so many variations of this over the course of the day.
Helenius.
Thank you. Can I ask you a really
Okay, Helenius.
We don't know. That's the fun part.
Helen. So like the old-fashioned name Helen. Helenius. Helenius.
That is with obviously an accent to it. So I think it's Helenius, but yes, it's
Helenius.
It is absolutely not what they were calling him yesterday.
This is not Laurel and Yanni or the color of the dress or whatever. It's like Helenius.
They've asked him 3 times in the last 3 seasons, and it's changed all 3 times. And I think we've interpreted it different ways all 3 times. But the national broadcast just calls him whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, the national broadcast. Let's stop there. For Sean McDonough, it wasn't in a joking sense. Like, there's a stick up high. There is a rule that if it draws blood, that's more than 2 minutes, right? And for Sean McDonough last night to suggest that Rasmus Dahlin is opening up some old wound to get it open and bleed more, like this is... You're the wrestling guy, Tim. Like, is that like we're going to fake this, or all of a sudden the blood packet and is going to come out?
I have no problem with the competitive advantage. Like, if you're able to make yourself bleed for an extra 2 minutes, I'm doing it. But no, that wasn't even close to what was happening.
No, like you're looking at the monitor. There's some rules in broadcasting. One, you should never, ever accuse somebody of faking an injury unless you're really, really sure, right? That, like, they're hurt. You don't know. You are not a professional, right? So the question, that's not what this was, but I'm just going over basic things. And this is an instance where you see this happen in real time. You can see the face of Rasmus Dahlin before the injury. I mean, I guess it would be one thing if he got hit earlier in the game in the same spot and he bled in the same spot. But if people were zeroing in on that, and Ray Ferraro is grating on me. Ray Ferraro is crossing over into Chris Collinsworth territory. And whoever this referee is, the dumbass referee who's explaining why that was interference. But then the NHL comes out a little later and says, no, it wasn't Quinn. It was, how do you say his name again, Tim? Consta Helenius.
Of course of the day.
Helenius.
Consta Helenius. Stop. Can we ban that? That should be your take today. Ban rule officials.
Dane Jackson was his name, not the former Amerks and current North Dakota head coach, but Dane Jackson was that guy's name.
Yeah, he's useless. Wasting my time.
We need a Stereotor that's actually competent in all sports, but I just couldn't believe, and just to stem back into the national broadcast on it, like we watched last night's game, that delay was 12 minutes, and then there's a delay on top of that, and it was while they were explaining the delay and reviewing it themselves, we're staring at a puck fully across the line. What was inconclusive about that? And then the broadcast saying is if we're waiting this long, it's inconclusive. No, it's not. We're staring right at the same damn thing you are. That is a puck fully across the...
Nobody's accountable. No one is accountable. When you go to the Situation Room, you are leaving yourself a lot of gray area. What's better for the sport? What's better here? Is it better that we award the market with 4 million people or a U.S. market with 1 million? I'm not kidding. Like, that has to be in the back of the mind of some of these guys. Everybody has their biases, for sure.
The total lack of transparency is what grates me, I think. But the broadcast yesterday was abominable. The review process, two of them, they got both of them wrong. You reviewed it because you missed it on the ice, which almost impossible to do. Fine, but then you review it, call it a goal, and then you review the review because there was a challenge, and you change that back. Why not just make it a full-on review? Call it no goal because of the interference right then and there. What are we spending 15 minutes on to spend another 5 minutes on something else?
Yeah, you would think that they would have made it like a one-stop shop. Like that could have sped up the game too. They could have gone out and said, it was a goal, but we're going to determine goaltender interference.
And that's fine.
But like you're going to kind of determine. No, it was a clown show last night for the NHL. And love the sport, but sometimes this league drives me crazy. But yet the Sabres found a way. So we'll talk to PJ Glasser, who, look, they don't have a team in Baltimore. He could say he's a Caps fan or whatever, but look, they're out. They didn't make it. So maybe we could get him on board here. It's funny, like friends of the show, Jay Binkley, all for the Sabres.
Sabres guy.
Yeah, Sabres guy. Bart Winkler, Sabres guy. A lot of guys coming up here. Time for your calls at 866-4326. Gene Battaglia, Tim Schneider, Dan Drummond here on WGR Rochester.
HD2 Rochester and everywhere you go at WGR Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR Rochester. An Odyssey sports station. WGR Rochester. Sports Update.
It's on to Game 5 for the Buffalo Sabres, winning last night in Montreal series, tied at 2 games each. Josh Doan, the forward, says the next one is the one.
You realize how important home ice advantage can be, and we can't be throwing games away at home. That's something that, not that we've struggled at home, but we've lost a couple games there where you realize how important it is to capitalize on home ice advantage, and that's something that we need to do.
Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with a call at 7 tomorrow night here on the Sports Leader. We'll talk about that and golf and other things. PJ Glasser, a betting expert, to join us later this hour here in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings took the opener 3-0 last night over Lehigh Valley. Same 2 teams tonight in downtown Rochester. On the Major League scoreboard, the Yankees are trailing the Orioles 3-0. They're in the 4th. Guardians up on the Angels 3-0, also in the 4th. Gene Battaglia, WGR Rochester.
Pull up a chair, stay for a while. You're in the sports bar on WGR. Grab a drink, hang your coat, get sports talk. Live from Western New York. It's a master show. 9 times better than your typical host. 9 times. Gene and Tim have takes much hotter than most. No one cares when you're out. Sabres! Bills! Americans! Red Wings and Nighthawks! Sports Bar! For Rochester Sports Talk.
Hour number 2 here in the Flower City. Gene Battaglia, Rochester bred, Rochester proud, with you. You can join us at 585-866-4326. One thing I didn't mention in the update is that we do have an NBA game tonight. It's Cleveland and Detroit, and certainly there are a lot of Rochester ties in that game, right? You have the 2 guys, Stewart and the other one.
Thomas Bryant.
Thank you. Series tied at 2. What does that, Tim, mean?
Pivotal
Game 5 tonight. But then the next 2, phone talking to me, not talking to you. Next 2 matchups interesting here. There's no game Thursday. Friday for both of these series being Detroit Cleveland Game 6 and Game 6 between San Antonio and Minnesota. Those games aren't on ESPN. They're not on NBC. And then they left Turner, of course. Prime gets them.
Seems
Prime. This isn't opening round playoffs, right? Like, Prime getting the doubleheader Friday night, and this kind of snuck up on everybody. I'm sorry. Like, that, to me, it's a Friday night, number 1. And number 2, sure, you could be a fan of local guys, as I spaced out on Thomas Bryant and Isaiah Stewart. or you like Wembanyama, or maybe just like you already get Prime and you'll put it on, but you're not searching that out. And this is kind of the line, in my opinion. And for the NHL, be careful, because I'm sure they're going to get offers here too, but I don't think we're quite at that point yet. To me, Friday night in the NBA kind of feels out of sight, out of mind. Unless Prime is a place you always go to. Not for me. Now, the bigger point I'm going to say is this. Say both those series get to a Game 7, and that'll be Sunday, and they haven't announced where those games would be in terms of TV. Minnesota, San Antonio, Cleveland, Detroit, as Oklahoma City and the Knicks just kind of patiently waiting here for their opponents. What's on Saturday in the NBA? Nothing. What's in the NHL Saturday? 1 game Saturday night. Wow. You thought last night felt good? Montreal will be the center of the sports universe coming up Saturday night. PGA Championship, that will be done for the day, 8 o'clock, north of the border on national television. That's an ABC game. Sabres on ABC coming up Saturday night. Of course, we'll have it for you here too, but let's just kind of compare, right? Hockey in a really good spot. Here's our product on ABC. NBA, Prime Video on Friday. I'm sorry. Like, I don't know if we'll ever get back to the point where we were in the 1990s. Let me tell you about the 90s, Tim. Back in the 90s, the TV ratings were the same for the NHL and the NBA, and this was in the era of Jordan. It's absolutely true. You can go look it up, and then the neutral zone trap of the New Jersey Devils killed everything, and people went away. A lockout, too, for a whole season.
Couple of those.
Yeah, a couple of those. That tends to drive people away when, I don't know, you're not playing games. I just think it's a great opportunity for the NHL, and a great opportunity for maybe the Sabres and their brand, like, hey, here's this fun team. And also, I'm going to kibosh this, and I'm not going to give anybody credit on this that is saying this. Can we stop with the, oh, look at the jerseys in Buffalo that are all red, and you don't see any blue jerseys up in Montreal. Okay. It doesn't matter if it's Buffalo or the Rangers, or you're telling me you don't understand the culture of Montreal, basically, the culture of Quebec. That is the team. That is a religion up there. That the number of tickets aren't going to be that readily available, and you can't compare the two. So, sure, over the years, have things changed here in Western Europe? Absolutely. I mean, I went to the 99 Eastern Conference Final, Sabres and Leafs, and I'm telling you, sure, there were some Leaf fans, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, our building got taken over. That happened after years of losing, and people still want to support the team, but you know what? We have to make a decision. Let's dump the tickets. If the Sabres, whatever happens, and again, I've been saying this all along, the story, the odds are it's going to stop short of a Stanley Cup, right? There are other good teams. Maybe it's this round even. But people will be jazzed up for next year. And slowly over time, you begin to weed out some of these season ticket holders that are just doing this as a side hustle. Because let's be honest, hey, if I can, mark up the tickets here for Toronto and Montreal and people that will buy it through the nose. Anyhow, I just thought, at some point, though, bucket list, I do want to go to a Montreal game. I want to take in that experience. To me, that's kind of a reminder. Sure, I'm sure Leaf games are fun. I know Dan DeLorean, who's listening across the hallway, hey, about the Sens. Sure. No, to me, that's hockey. That's generational. That would be the place to go check out a game at some point. I mean, would you be allowed in?
I don't know. Now with the Sabres jersey on, maybe not. Maybe that's part of it, too. Is it maybe they do the withholding of tickets through zip codes and stuff like that?
One guy I got to talk to, and he's not back in town, and I can mention this because they're an advertiser. We have him up on Get My Perks right now. The Brown Hound Downtown. Inside the mag, right? So if you're looking for dinner or brunch, go check it out. So the owner there, Don, I was talking to him, and he's like, oh, I'm going out of town. I'm like, where are you going? Montreal. I'm like, no. So he's the first fan I know that went up there. So I'm going to be quizzing him about his experience there because I feel sheepish in kind of saying this, but I highly recommend Montreal. I'm thinking, look, if you're looking to impress your partner, let's say, and go up there, by all means. It is kind of an international city that isn't that far away.
If the Sabres win tomorrow, do we try to send Owen Parker back up to Game 6 again?
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Keep it going.
All right. Let's kind of take a look at this as I go over the schedule. Saturday. Okay. The get-in price, a little high. Canadian $424. I'm going to say ballpark $300 US to get in. That's yeah, you're going up there with your buddy, with your lady. That's putting you back $1,000 between the tax, the food, and just even getting a cheapo motel for a night. But you can say YOLO, right?
Right.
YOLO.
Hard to rationalize it, but when you say YOLO, you can rationalize anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said this, and a good friend of mine, Tim is his name. Thompson, you may remember him. Loves the Jays. I said that about Ian Mills when he joined us last hour. I'm a Jays fan. I'm like, come on, there aren't any Jays fans. No, I know you exist. he went to the YOLO last year. Like said, hey, Game 6. He went up for Game 6, and he stayed for Game 7. And imagine your favorite team watching that in person losing. I mean, that was a great World Series. But yeah, if the Sabres keep this run going, I'll be curious to see how many people are going to be like, I can't believe this. I got to go follow this team. 585-866-4326. PJ Glasser here coming up in just a little bit. I would say that the Red Wings do a fantastic job at promotional events. This is a promotional event from somebody else. I still want to say International League. I don't know what they call it. Okay. Louisville. We don't get Louisville on a regular basis, but I know they're on this side of the bracket, right? Have you seen this, Tim? They're calling this Nothing Night. Now, this is not a tribute to Seinfeld. I guess that would be kind of, you'd see this from time to time. We're going to make it the Office night, Seinfeld night, whatever. No, Nothing Night for the Louisville Bats. It's a baseball game in its purest form they're talking about. No ads, no music, no videos, no on-field promotion. Now, no videos. I guess ABS, they're not counting as a video.
That's just ball.
Oh, my gosh, sign me up for this. Wouldn't you want to just kind of take that, or would that just be so foreign that you went to a ballpark and it was quiet, and it all you had was the PA. You didn't even have Fred Costello doing anything?
I think I would do it only to see, like, this is literally baseball in, like, 1888. Like, it's interesting. And I would do it to try it, but I don't know if I would do it if it was permanent.
Yeah, like, do you literally? Okay, so forgive me, I don't know who the PA announcer is. The late Kevin Spears, right, was the PA announcer, and miss him. For the Wings now, you don't do it over the loudspeaker. You're doing it like in the bullhorn, like how they did it in the ye old days. Now batting, just doing that, and you're just gonna yell it out. Kind of like how I do my amateur trivia nights, right? Like, hey, like you're gonna do it that way. Perhaps. I think that would be a lot of it would be different. I think, though, I'm going to say, Louisville, you missed out on one thing. And maybe this is my free suggestion for the Wings. And if they take it up and I see this someday, all I'm going to say is give me credit. I'm not going to charge you for this. Somebody hasn't done this yet. If they've done it, let me know. No cell phone night. That anybody that comes through the gates, you are on the honor system that the cell phone, whoop, it goes off. Between the kids or work or whatever, okay, then you mute it. And if you have to take the call, then you're going to go to the corner and they'll make a kind of a designated area. Like that's where it would be. Could you enjoy? Now, part of the problem is that the Red Wings, they have everything tied in. Like, hey, here's the contest. Scan the QR code. And, oh, hey, rock the city and hashtag and all this other blah, blah, blah. No, you could shelve that for a night. Could you live without your phone watching a baseball game?
Quite literally right now, I know I could not because I lost my card. So I'd have to pay with my phone, right? And, like, that makes it tough. I like the idea, but with technology so attached to your phone now, it makes it really hard.
I guess, because I'm thinking the Red Wings are the last ones that still use paper tickets. But a lot of that wouldn't work out.
Yeah, the concessions are digitized. I literally do not have a physical card on me, so I have to use my phone to, like, scan it, and it wouldn't work for me. If I have to starve at the game.
Turn your phone off once you enter this zone. I don't know. There's got to be some other. Have you been to the concert yet, or the whatever?
I went to a comedy show. Yeah,
comedy show where all of a sudden, when Chris Rock was in Buffalo a few years ago, that was like, oh, it's a little unnerving. I'm gonna put it in the pouch. They cut it like we're we're in high school, like they're doing it some places. All right, anyhow, like that, good idea, and I would welcome kind of a quieter night there at the ballpark. Red Wings playing tonight against Lehigh Valley. Our buddy, well, his brother's going to be interning for the Wings.
Soon.
Yeah, I don't want to say where he found a place, but I said, hey, PJ texted me over the weekend and said, oh, no, that's a good neighborhood. So, PJ's brother, we got to have him in studio one of these times hanging out with us. PJ Glass, our betting expert, joining us next. You can join us on the other side, too, at 866-4326. Gene Battaglia here at WGR Rochester.
So much action, we couldn't fit it all in. Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia with you everywhere in the Odyssey, iHeartRadio, or TuneIn apps.
Hello once again. It's Gene Battaglia. May's such a beautiful time here in Western New York, but it's also a reminder that summer heat isn't far behind. And if your windows are older or inefficient, that heat can sneak in quickly and drive your energy bills right up along with it. That's why I recommend Window Nation. When it comes to your home, it's one of the smartest investments you can make. And experts say that windows can retain up to 80% of their value. So you're not just improving comfort, you're adding long-term value too. Window Nation's windows are custom built for your home, measured carefully for the right fit, and installed by experienced crews, often just in 1 day or less. And every window is backed by a lifetime warranty, which gives you real peace of mind. Right now, during their Buy 4 Windows, Get 4 free sale, you can place your windows and get half of them for free. Plus, there's no money down and no payments or interest for 2 full years. Don't wait. Buy 4, Get 4 free is happening now. Visit windownation.com to schedule your consultation today. That's windownation.com.
WGR Rochester Sports Update.
It's on to Game 5 for the Buffalo Sabres. The series tied at 2 games each. Buffalo's Josh Doan on what is ahead.
Yeah, I think you'll start to see things tighten up a little bit. Obviously, it's going to be a tight couple games here. We've seen a lot of offense through the first 4 games, but I'm sure both teams are going to want to kind of slow that down and play a little bit more simple for the next 3.
Dan Dunleavy, Rob Ray with the call at 7 tomorrow night here on the Sports Leader. PJ Glasser, a betting expert, to join us next here in the Sports Bar. Rochester Red Wings won their home opener against Lehigh Valley. Same 2 teams tonight at the ballpark. On the Major League scoreboard, the Yankees falling into a 3-0 hole. They're in the top of the 5th in Baltimore. Guardians up by a 3-2 score against the Angels. They're in the middle of the 5th. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM, AM 950, WGR Rochester.
In the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
Yeah, we were just talking about, PJ Glasser's based in Baltimore, but his brother is going to be interning for our Red Wings here coming up, and there's a Glasser already in the Nats organization. PJ, I just think you should relocate here to the Flower City yourself, or just come up for the summer here, buddy. PJ, how are you today?
Gene, I'm doing good, pal. Happy NFL schedule release eve to you and yours. I'm definitely going to have to make the trip to Rochester at some point. I was actually on TikTok the other day, and I heard somebody talking about a restaurant in Rochester named Red that looks very good that I got to eat at. So, yeah,
okay.
I'm sure you know about that.
Well, you're going right to the high end there, PJ. That's
okay.
It's like,
I see.
Well, let's see. Like when you're a winner like PJ, and I'm just going to do this for the camera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he can just slap out. Yeah, just throwing money around. That's PJ Glasser, our betting expert. You hear him on various platforms, including Westwood One on the weekends. And PJ, it's great to kind of catch up with you. And I think back to 3 years ago where we were in the center of the sports universe, Oak Hill, the PGA Championship, and I just think back fondly. That was Michael Block, the Club Pro, a hole-in-one. You had Brooks Koepka winning it, and now here's the week here coming up, and this year it's in Pennsylvania. Your thoughts here on the PGA Championship and the course here overall?
Yeah, Gene, Aronimink, they haven't played here since 2018. Keegan Bradley won it, and he beat Justin Rose in a playoff. The PGA, as we know, of the 4 majors, is usually the one where we see the most birdies. Usually the winner is maybe even 20 under par, but certainly in the high teens, 17, 18 under par. I would expect the same thing this week. Listening to most of the golfers talk about it, media members that are out there, they kind of all agree really that the defense for this course is the wind. If it picks up, then it could get tricky. But, Gene, I really just think this is going to kind of be like another one of those events on the PGA Tour. You know, it's certainly going to be one of those harder courses, but I don't think it's going to be all that different from what we saw out of Quail Hollow last week or, like what it is when they play at Riviera, like one of those courses where obviously one of those signature events where a lot of the top players are playing. So I think for the PGA this week, the Masters, the U.S. Open, those are normally 2 majors where you don't really look at a lot of long shots because the courses are so difficult. The best players in the world, guys with experience, usually separate themselves. But for the PGA, because I think it's going to be like just another week on the PGA Tour, I did, sprinkle some guys this week at 80 to 1, 100 to 1, 175 to 1. So I think it could be a good week for people out there. Maybe take some shots with some of the guys down the board.
All right. So, the favorites we know would be, I'm looking at Scheffler plus 480, Rory at 850, but give us like a name or two. This is the fun part because quite often you're on the money when it comes to this stuff. And when we see him make the cut, all of a sudden I'm cheering for somebody I never even heard of entering the tournament. So tell us a name or two that you've got sprinkled in here, PJ.
So the longest shot I got this week, Gene, that I actually really like is Matt McCarty. He's still 150 to 1 at some spots. I got him at 100 to 75 to 1. Donald Ross course that they're playing at this week. On the 2 Donald Ross courses that McCarty has played this year. He's finished in the top 15. He's in great form. He's got 4 of his last 5 events. He's finished in like the top 24, I believe. And then the grass that they're playing on this week, obviously you go around the country, you play on certain kind of grasses. The grass that they're putting on this week, bent grass, Matt McCarty is the best golfer on tour on bent grass greens. So I think the value, Gene, and again, he's the guy that's been playing well in just regular run-of-the-mill PGA tournaments. I think he's got a chance this week, so keep an eye out on Matt McCarty. And then the other guy I took a flyer with is Bobby Mack, Robert McIntyre at 70-1. His iron play and ball striking are the reason why he's such a big long shot, because he's very inconsistent, but he's such a good driver over the golf ball, and he's one of the best putters in the world. And I think that combo, Gene, Rory talked about it this week, you really can take advantage of this course. If you can drive it deep, give yourself, short wedges in and then putt and make a lot of birdies, you'll find yourself towards the top of the board. So Robert McIntyre, that combo of driving and putting, I think could put him towards the top. So we'll go Bobby Mack, Gene, and Matt McCarty, 2 of the longer shots I like this week.
PJ, what's your view here of the NBA playoffs? Now, mind you, we have the Knicks advancing to the second round. We have OKC doing their thing, and we're talking less and least our part of the world here. I mean, it probably is because of the Sabres and whatnot, but just your thoughts overall before we get to the plays here in these 2 second-round matchups that are still remaining. Your thoughts here, what we've seen so far this NBA postseason, is it living up to the years past? Because to me, or is it just kind of we're here in West New York just so Sabre crazy that we're not really paying that close attention?
So, Gene, I've kind of compared this NBA playoffs to what we just saw out of the college basketball season, where all year we had the 3 best teams in college basketball, where it was Michigan, Arizona, and Duke. And this year we have OKC, the Knicks, and San Antonio. I think OKC is Michigan. I think Arizona is the Knicks, and I think Duke is San Antonio, right? We all watch OKC play like we would Michigan in the regular season, and we go, man, that's the best team in the country. Then you watch the Spurs sometimes with Wemby, and you go, man, they might be the best team in the country. And then obviously with the way the Knicks have been playing, the reason I think that OKC is Michigan, Arizona is Arizona is the Knicks, and Duke is the Knicks, and then Arizona is the Spurs. I think OKC, Gene, like you put those other teams against OKC in a 7-game series, just like you did in the tournament against Michigan in a one-off, and you can't beat Oklahoma City. So I think, again, like the top teams in the NBA this year, very strong. The 7-game stretch that the Knicks have put together has been ridiculous. Oklahoma City's 8-0 this postseason. And the Spurs, I mean, I know they're up 3-2 in the series against Minnesota, but Wemby got ejected in one of the games, and then the other game that they lost, they had their worst shooting percentage of the year just about. They easily could have swept Minnesota up to this point. So you got a very top-heavy league right now with 3 very good teams. But at the end of the day, I just think Oklahoma City is too good. So I think they'll beat the Spurs, and I think they'll take care of the Knicks in the NBA Finals as well.
That's it, yeah. Like we've been just kind of, all right, this is how this is going to play out, and so far it's playing out that way. Maybe one thing we didn't expect was, all right, Detroit got a real scare going to 7 against Orlando here, and well, here are the Pistons kind of farting around against Cleveland tonight. Game 5. I'm looking at Detroit minus 4.5 at home, which doesn't seem like a big number in a, as we say here, if the series is tied at 2-2, you must say it's a pivotal Game 5, PJ. Any plays in this matchup tonight, 8 o'clock on ESPN?
I like the Cavs plus the points, Gene. Coming into the postseason, my thing about Cleveland that has just reigned true so far is that in this Donovan Mitchell era, how bad they have been on the road, but how great they have been at home. And what has Cleveland done this postseason? They are 6-0 at home, and they are 0-5 on the road. They have been terrible away from Cleveland so far this postseason, but I think now that's starting to get built into the line. It feels like this should be about 2.5, 2, but now you're getting the Cavs at 4.5. I just think that's too many points. Both the games in Detroit, the first 2 games of this series, they were 1-possession games with 4 or 5 minutes to go. If you got a 4.5 and that scenario plays out, you're feeling good with a game coming right down to the wire and getting way over the one possession. So I think it's a little inflated because of the Cavs' road struggles. Again, when you're betting 4.5, they don't have to win. They just have to cover that number. So I like that. And then I'll also play Jaren Duren Evan Mobley under 27.5 points, rebounds, and assists just went over in the game 4. But I think that line is too high. So that's the prop that I like, but I do like Cleveland to cover the number tonight.
PJ Glasser, where you hear him on various platforms, including Westwood One from time to time, our guest here in the Sports Bar. PJ, as far as the NFL schedule, and look, we'll all be looking at it, right? We'll be checking our phones tomorrow, see, all right, my favorite team, did any dates kind of leak here? From the betting standpoint, though, is there anything to be said? I mean, I'm just going to look out of curiosity just to see, all right, like, where do the odds makers put the line here for these games? And I'm already thinking the survivor pool, PJ. I'm not kidding you. Thursday night, I'll look at things. And it gives me kind of that runway here. I'm weird like that. But your thoughts here on like how really for many people the betting season will be starting here pretty soon here if you want some advanced action. Have you ever done anything like that, like looked at a line and said, oh my gosh, that line where they set this is absolutely wrong, I'm going in the other direction? Is anything to be said for that coming up here on Thursday night?
I don't think I have, Gene, just because I'm not the kind of person that loves to time money in for that long unless it's a futures bet. You know, like if you get insane value on a future, that's one thing. But NFL lines like this, where they're obviously so sharp and there's so much money and data that goes into it, I rarely do bet week 1 games this far out. But again, I mean, we all know how much a point means in the NFL. If you feel like you're getting good value on a number, then by all means, because right now, Gene, just kind of scouring the board a little bit, just about every line that they have up is 2.5. Bills are a 3-point favorite against the Lions in that week 2 Thursday night game. But everything else I'm looking at, Chiefs, Broncos, Cowboys, Giants, Ravens, Cowboys, Rams, Niners, all these lines are 2.5, and there are definitely going to be some games that close 3, especially if Mahomes is for sure ruled in for the Chiefs week 1, and especially if Bo Nix is ruled out, you know, that line could close closer to 6. So if you get obviously an inkling on certain things and you feel like a line's going to get a certain way and you get a great number like 2.5, then by all means. But typically, Gene, I just don't like to fire this early on in week 1 and keep my money tied up for that long.
So I know, like, we all will do this exercise, right? Like for the Bills, like, okay, week 1, for example, they open Miami, win. Detroit, win, and you end up picking, and everybody will lean on more sides and win more often than not. When do we normally get, when you talked about futures like the over-unders, like when are those kind of established, like, okay, say the Bills are going to be an 11-win team or something like, when can we kind of look forward to, talking about those props, PJ?
So I think, Gene, in some markets right now, like win totals are out for certain teams, but when we get the schedule tomorrow and we get an idea of, obviously if teams have a stretch where they play 4 divisional games in 5 weeks, or if they have an early bye week or a late bye week, or maybe they have 3 road games in a row, like those little nuances in the schedule definitely can dictate like a half a game, or they can dictate whether or not a line gets super juiced one way or another. But right now, for the most part, you can find a win total for all those teams, and they won't adjust too much. But again, we know at this point the opponents, and we know who has the most difficult strength of schedule based off of the records from last year. But you know me, Gene, and especially in the NFL, I love looking at my scheduling spots. I love looking at travel. I love looking at the bye weeks, who's got certain road games in a row, divisional games, all these sorts of things. So it definitely will affect the win totals for sure.
So I'm going to turn the tables on you, PJ. All right? I'm going to give you a suggestion tonight for baseball. I'm going to see it, like, as normally I say, okay, do you got to play for us here? And like, I'm curious to get your play for baseball, but I'm going to give you my suggestion. Ready? Tonight, I love the Boston Red Sox at home against Philadelphia because on my fantasy team, and I can't get rid of him, is Andrew Painter. And Andrew Painter has been getting lit up time after time after time, and I don't see this kind of turning around in Fenway, even though the Red Sox have had their struggles. That's my pick for tonight. And again, caution everybody, I'm no expert. Maybe that's emotional. PJ, what would be your play here tonight on the Major League schedule?
I love it, Gene. I'm going with the White Sox in a pick 'em against the Royals. Chicago had a walk-off win last night. Gene, I mean, they're right in the mix for an AL wildcard berth. They're right in the mix to win the AL Central. So this is a pivotal series against Kansas City. They've been good at home this season. They're playing better right now than the Royals are. So I think the White Sox should be favored in this game. I don't think it should be a pick 'em. I like Chicago minus the 110 against KC.
Got to get your thoughts here. The pitching matchup, Washington and Cincinnati. Do you have a feel for this game here tonight, PJ?
Oh, Gene, you know I got to back my guy Nick Lodolo on the mound for Cincinnati tonight against the Nationals. We're going with Lodolo. I mean, enough said. I'm trying to scour the board, see if anybody else is pitching tonight. I mean, in that Royals game, we did have Seth Lugo, Gene. Can't forget about Lugo. It's another good one. But definitely love our guy Lodolo for sure.
So when your brother comes up, and we don't, if he's fine with him, we'll put him on mic. But I hope he realizes that we and the irony here is we have a terrible accent in Rochester. That when he comes up here, like, we might be needling him a little bit here this summer, PJ.
You know, he doesn't do the accent nearly as much as I do. So I don't know, like, how good he is at it. I'm sure he's, got something in him. Like, there'll be certain last names or first names where you really can hear it. But Gene, that's a good call. I do it all the time with my buddies, but I don't really do it much with him. So I'll be interested to see if he's any good at it. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, see if it kind of slips out here from time to time.
Yeah.
PJ, tell us about your schedule here. We got the PGA Championship coming up. Where can we get more of your content coming up this week?
Yeah, Gene, I'll be on VSiN tonight with Femi Abebefe and Will Hills. Looking forward to that. I'll be talking PGA and NBA, and then I'll be hosting on Westwood One Sports on Friday and Sunday. Pat Boyle on Friday, and then Chris Mack on Sunday. So looking forward to all that, and looking forward to the PGA tomorrow, Gene. So hopefully we can get a winner.
Pat Boyle, is that the BetMGM show?
That is the BetMGM show, yes, sir.
Oh, we have PJ back on our air Friday nights. Woo!
Yes, sir.
Oh, everybody. Okay, so everybody call into the show, feedback to the show, tell Pat Boyle how much you love PJ Glasser, and try to bait him into saying things like Nick Lodolo.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, I'm going to be on there. The next couple Fridays, so the 22nd and couple other dates coming up in May. So it's great to be back on the airwaves, and absolutely love for people to call in. Talking Sabres, obviously. Hoping they can bounce back, after the Habs game the other night and keep rolling in that series. But it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I promise not to prank call you or anything like that, PJ. But we want people tuning in to hear PJ on BetMGM. BetMGM coming up Westwood One on Friday night. PJ, appreciate the time as always. Have a good week. Let's do this again next Wednesday.
Always, Gene. Appreciate you having me. Talk to you next week.
Thanks, bud. PJ Glasser, good friend of the show, good guy. And again, his brother goes to Ithaca, and he landed an internship with the Rochester Red Wings. So I think for like one show, I don't know like what is required of a Rochester Red Wings intern. I don't know if it's like 40 hours from 9 to 5. Honestly, I don't know. But if his schedule allows, and for folks who don't know, we're literally 2 blocks away from the stadium. So come on over here, hang out, and while his brother's on here, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So
Glasser family takeover. We got to find a way to install a 4th mic here. I'll just move over.
Just move over. Well, in the past, you've just been kind of sharing the mic. You're always the one. We've got 3 in this studio, 3 cameras. Let me put Timmy on camera. Is that a knockoff sweater you're wearing?
This is not a knockoff sweater I'm wearing. This is a winter classic when they played the Rangers at Citi Field.
That's it. But does it have a name, or is it just?
No, it's just a blank. I bought it. I went down there for the game, and I bought it when I was there as a memento of my experience.
I do like that sweater. Like
it's
that's
got the NY on it.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Yeah, that is kind of cool. Appreciate that. Tim Schneider, our guest here on the show today. Let's set you up. Last call coming up. 866-4326. That is our number, 585, the area code, presented by Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. Gene Battaglia here, WGR Rochester.
We're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports. Visit RochesterNighthawks.com. Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Gene Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 WGR, Rochester.
I follow up the story from yesterday where one of the funner stories of the season last year was Cal Raleigh, Seattle Mariner catcher, 60 homers. You just and like he had the nickname, he had the swag. As a team that fell short of its goals, but hey, you're a Mariner fan. Hey, there's something to kind of build off of there. Okay, well, he got into a really bad slump as we were describing, like 0 for almost 2 weeks. And last night against the Houston Astros, he got a hit in the 7th inning. So Cal Raleigh with that hit broke an 0 for 38 slump.
Hang the banner.
Raised his average. Now he's batting 166. Mind you, when you hear Mendoza line, that was Mario Mendoza from the early 80s, a Seattle shortstop that they kind of poked fun at. That's a soft middle infielder. At 200, okay, you're batting below the Mendoza line. This is somebody who had the best offensive season of any catcher in baseball history. Period. That was Raleigh last year, 60 home runs. And I do think they got it right with naming Aaron Judge the MVP. But here's the kicker to the story, as they would say. How did Cal Raleigh break the slump? Now, he's not doing it like your old Rome listener, like Mark Grace or anything like that. No, but he did do something. After the last game on Monday night, he went over to the shower and he showered in full uniform. Okay, there's so many questions with that. Number one, why? Number two, how do you actually get clean when you're wearing your dirty uniform? It's very look at me for Cal Raleigh. So now, every time he gets a hit, does he have to shower in full? And then how do you handle this if you're the clubby? Like, you have to, then wash the wet uniform and pick that up? Like, hopefully, I have a salad tong or something like that. I don't want
Sell it on eBay.
Ugh.
Throw it up on MLB auctions.
Thanks to our guest today, Ian Mills, News 10 NBC. PJ Glasser just wrapping up. If you missed any of today's show, 1 to 3 Eastern, we're on locally. You can listen to that in the Odyssey app. Just download it today. Special thanks to Dan DeLorean chopping up all the audio. Thanks to our fine producer, Tim Schneider, as well. Normally, I tell you who's on the show tomorrow, but we're going to figure that out as soon as we get off the air. Show up in the Bulldog coming your way next. My name is Gene Battaglia. This is WGR Rochester.